Okay, I'm gonna say hi to everybody and we'll get the meeting going. And I want to thank you all for coming out in this cold weather. I really appreciate it. The library is nice and warm, so that's a nice thing. Certainly warmer than my house, so I appreciate it. So, anyway, my name's Barbara Cooper, and I'm the chair of the Fidalgo Democrats, and we're going to get going. I'd like to start the meeting with an acknowledgement. Is this loud enough? Or? Okay. We, the Fidalgo Democrats, acknowledge that we gather on indigenous land, the traditional territory of the Coast Salish people, specifically the Samish and Swinomish people, and pay our respects to elders past, present, and future. Just to let you know, if you're not on our mailing list, we have a sign-up sheet in the back, and we can put you down, and you'll get our emails when we send them out. We don't send out a lot, so you're not going to be getting them every day or anything like that. And we let you know about upcoming meetings if there's something really important that a rally or something that we'd like people to know about. Please write clearly so we can actually read it, because Rita will put it in our MailChimp. Okay, next, please turn off your cell phones. I just did mine. And we have lovely cookies in the back, and please feel free to take them. We have coffee and tea, hot water, cold water, so feel free to go back there and have a lovely snack. I'll explain a little about the Fidalgo Democrats. We are an independent democratic association with a focus on education. We are not a PAC. We cannot endorse candidates or contribute to their campaigns. We do, however, invite Democratic candidates to talk about issues and legislation. If you want to contribute to candidates or different legislation, we encourage you to go to the websites and find out more about them. We don't charge dues, but we do pass the hat. And what we've done with our money in the past is we give to different organizations. We do the brick dinner at the Presbyterian Church. We've given money to the Southern Poverty Law Center, the World Central Kitchen, and we take suggestions if you have charities that you think would be a benefit for the amount of money. We don't have a ton of money, but we do give it, try to give it away, and then we do keep a little bit for ourselves just for this. So, the good news is the meeting is being recorded by Colton Hong in the back there, and will be available. Yay! Now, it'll be available on the YouTube channel in a few days, and Rita will work with Colton to send it out. And Colton Hong is a high school student and is helping with this every last few months. I also wanted to mention that he was selected as Youth of the Year by the Skagit Boys and Girls Club. So congratulations. And I put the article from the newspaper on the table back there if you want to read it. The Youth of the Year is honest students who demonstrate community service, leadership, integrity, and personal development. So congratulations. Well done.
Thank you.
And on a different note, I wanted to mention that Gail Nichols, I don't know if any of you knew her, she was a resident of Weemus Island and she passed away on January 4th. She was a dedicated Democrat and she was very active in a lot of issues. She was president and vice president of the Skagit County Democrats and a PCO for Weemus. She wrote lots of letters to the Skagit Herald, and she was involved in local environmental issues with a concern about industrial accidents, a proposed bottled water plant that was going on many years ago, and to basically keep the area safe. Again, her family sent me a letter of her life, which is absolutely amazing. If you have time to read it, I mean, this woman traveled all over and did an amazing amount of things. She was a really fascinating, remarkable life, and so, but she will be missed. So I do want to let you know about that. And our next meeting will be in March, and it'll be on a Thursday night. We'll send out a flyer. And we've invited several union representatives to talk about what is happening with unions and workers, both locally and nationally. And it should be really quite interesting to see what they're doing. So we're looking forward to that next month. Before I introduce the speakers, I'd like to ask if there are any elected officials, Democratic Party officials, including PCOs. Of course, we have Carolyn Moulton, who's our speaker. Anybody else? And Sarah and Valit and Rita, they're all PCOs for this community. Anybody else that I've missed? Hi, Heather. Hi, Heather. See what I mean? I can miss people, so just raise your hand and let me know. Don't be shy. All right. A couple of thank yous. Dawn Ambrose edits the Skagit Democratic newsletter. If you are interested in knowing what's going on, you can get on their website. It's called the Skagit Democrats newsletter. And he sends it out every Sunday, and it is amazing. It's just full of what's going on. And not just locally, but every once in a while he'll add some other things as well. He's really great. And then on Whidbey Island, there's a Whidbey Island newsletter by Carolyn Rich Tamler. And again, if you want to get it, just go on their website and they'll get it to you. Our Facebook page is sort of not happening right at the moment. One of Shay, who's out of town, said she may pick it up again. So if you look at the Facebook page, it's probably out of date. The woman who was doing it for years resigned. So the other thing is there is a rally every Sunday afternoon from 12 to 1 on the corner of Commercial and 12th. So if anyone is feeling inclined to hold some signs and jump up and down, that happens every week. And it's a little chilly, but you know, you can jump up and down. And then Wim, he's not here, often brings music for us to dance to. So he brings, it's just really helpful. So there's a couple of things I wanted to say that are not usually what I do, but I wanted to read this. This is by a man named Martin Niemöller from World War II. First they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. And that kind of says it all. ICE. As you all know, we're not going to get into this tonight. We may hope to have a meeting about that, what's going on. I did get, we have some information, but there is a phone number you can call if you see a raid. And what they're telling you to do is to please get the vehicle number, the name of the vehicle, see if you can see any name, a badge on somebody who's actually doing it. And there is a phone number you can call to let them know what's going on, and it's hopefully a rapid response thing. The number is 844-724-3737, and I can repeat that, or you can ask me during the meeting. And so before I introduce the speakers, Sarah would like to say a couple of things. So.
Thank you, Barbara. My name is Sarah Peterson. I'm a member of the steering committee, and so I've been involved in all of our discussions about what speakers and what topics. And it made me think that maybe a couple of comments about what we've been up to and where we're headed and what the heck we should be doing. There's a lot of really good commentary out there that provides a lot of direction about actions we could be taking about our current circumstances. So why are we talking about local planning in this time when the country seems to be blowing up? As Margaret Brinkle wrote in her piece yesterday in the New York Times, tune tuning out can feel like the only way to survive, but too many people are in immediate danger and can't afford to look away. They are counting on the rest of us to stand beside them, to flood our senators and representatives with emails and phone calls, to write letters to the editors, to march in public squares. Paying too little attention is what got us into this mess. And what has been very helpful for me are all the descriptions of how people are pushing back, in the courts. Give money to ACLU or whatever organization you're a member of who might be involved in some of these court cases. Calling your senator or representatives, 6 phone calls a day seems to be the recommended amount. And don't write. That apparently is not very effective. They're counting the phone calls and they are reporting out what the top issues are from those people. They're getting 1,400 calls a minute instead of 40. So apparently that's very effective. Boycotts. Tesla is really losing ground. Such a shame for electric cars, but anyway. February 28th is the no purchasing day. It's a general boycott, February 28th. Try to get informed about which companies are continuing with their DEI efforts, diversity, equity, inclusion. Costco's gotten a lot of press, but I'm sure they're not the only ones. Do not comply in advance. I'd like to mention the term climate change in that regard. So strategically, we were told recently, if you want to get your initiative passed, or stopped in this case, don't use the term climate change because everybody who believes in climate change is already in favor of it. So call it pollution. Well, strategically that may be a good idea sometimes, but we have to keep the term out there. Otherwise, what we are doing is just seeding the ground and saying, oh, climate change, that doesn't exist. We're just like Florida. So continue to use the right terms for the things that you know are going on. Stay informed. Don't hide your head. I like to use journalism that I know the perspective of. In other words, I'm not trying to find out about the middle. I'm trying to find out what people think when I know what their lens is. So we can be on the streets and on the corners with rallies, big and small, in addition to all those things I just listed. On Sundays, on this past Sunday, we had more people than the Trump people on our side. Wim did bring his Latin rhythm music, which really helped my knees and my spirits. But another thing happened, which is Juan, who runs a small business of boat maintenance work, came to talk to us. He is very upset because the people on the other side are the people whose boats he maintains. And it appeared to me that he felt very betrayed. But I was very glad that he chose to speak to us. And I think it's important that we are out there so he knows that there are people there supporting him. We're going to do it again tomorrow at noon just for fun, for an extra, thing without the Trumpies on the other side. So come on out. It'll be our last dry day, I think. Yeah. So Quinta Juracek did a long interview with Ezra Klein, and that was just published today. It says, what if Trump just ignores the courts? It's a good essay. It's quite lengthy, as those interviews tend to be, and it really calmed me down quite a bit about that. It's like, you don't just go from defying the courts to outright, military intervention or something. So it calmed me down a lot. I recommend it highly, but I appreciated what she said about seeing people stand up and speak up for their values and do the right thing matters not only for the individual people that those folks might be protecting, but it matters because it gives the people courage. It matters because it shows that if you do not agree with what is happening in this country right now, you're not alone. So why, in this context, we want to put our energy into comprehensive planning? Because one of the things that we saw with the election and with all the rest of this baloney is that we have great municipal, county, and state officers. We've elected great people. We continue to elect great people. They're fighting back in many cases. And many of the places where the policies and proclamations will actually be implemented are locally in places like our school board or our city council. You know, last year the city council all rededicated themselves to the anti-hate speech policy. You know, that's the kind of thing that can go by the wayside if local politicians aren't paying attention. The hospital board, which has to make the decisions about who gets treated. The public gymnasium, which has to make decisions about who gets to use the bathroom. So all of our very, very local organizations and officers need to be on our side. We need to support them, and we need to make sure that in this upcoming election we get another good round. So we know that the administration is, on a national level, is trying to stop any work on climate. It's important that the local governments do their part to act as a bulwark against that. So that's why we need to talk about it here. So in addition to doing whatever you can do to resist what's happening on the federal level, let's also learn about our local issues, get involved and support our excellent local politicians. So in terms of our speakers who are upcoming, the unions are an important part of this picture. They came from the trade unionists. An autocrat does not want there to be another power source besides his own power. And the unions are a source of solidarity. We do want to get a presentation together that will do bystander training for if you do happen to have any interaction with ICE or observe an ICE deportation strategy. There was a really good article in the Seattle Times today about what bystander strategies should be. So check that out if you have a chance. You know, it's not far-fetched. I think about Trident Seafoods, for example. If you go down there, you know that the vast majority of people who work there are Hispanic or Latino. You know, if they wanted to come gather up a bunch of people all at once, that's a really good spot to do it. So finally, Timothy Snyder, who is, you probably all know as the author of On Tyranny, says, nothing is inevitable. Do not be alone, and do not be dismayed. Find someone who is doing something you admire and join them. I'll see you out on the streets.
All right, thank you, Sarah. That was wonderful. And Sarah's on our steering committee, so we can count on some good stuff happening with her help. So I think that's, we'll now go to our presentation with, start with Carolyn Moulton, who's the City Council, and she's going to talk about the climate element in the comprehensive plan. And so I'll have her use the good mic, and if it's too loud, I can turn it down.
Okay. How's this? I don't really want to stand in the way, so I'll see how I can do this without being super awkward. My PowerPoint is short. Most of it is charts about greenhouse gases, because I think that's the best way to...
Hold the mic up.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I think the charts are a really good way to see those. But first of all, a little bit about me, Carolyn Moulton, Anacortes City Council. I got appointed to the City Council in 2019, and my position is at large. So there are 4 of us that are at large that represent the whole city, and there are 3 wards. And so 7 of us total. And this year is the election year that the 4 at-large seats will be up for election. and I intend to run again. Thank you. And I'm not sure about my fellow council members, but I've heard that one is not going to, so tell your friends.
Yeah.
We need another good candidate, at least one, so more to come on that as time goes on. May is when we all declare our intention to run when we register. Also this year is the mayoral election. Yeah. And because a lot of times when I speak, I don't necessarily, say who I'm voting for, but I think it's okay to say that I strongly support Ryan Walters.
Yeah.
Woo, Ryan! We just had a baby, by the way. Super exciting, little cutie pie. Boy, Benjamin, yes. And I can't remember all his other names. It's like Benjamin Charles Stites Walters. So big name, big things coming for him ahead, I'm sure. So, last time Ryan lost by, I think, 200 votes. So we don't want, and you know what, he hasn't even fully announced he's running, but I have an idea that he will. He hasn't confirmed. I know it's, yeah.
What about the incumbent?
And Mayor Miller,
You said it.
I think he's going to, I'm pretty sure he's gonna run again. I think he likes his position. So I, as someone who's worked with both for my entire time on council, I mean, the choice is clear. Really easy for us. And I know, unfortunately, over the years that there are some people who don't like Ryan. A lot of times I've heard, oh, he thinks he's the smartest kid in the room. He is the smartest. That's awesome, you guys. He is, but so some people are not going to come around no matter what he does, and that's unfortunate. But so we need to get those people who will, because some people won't change their minds. So anyway, that's my little stump speech for Ryan, and I know you're all on board, so thank you for that. He's such a hard worker, and he will be such a good mayor. And that's what we need.
I'm going to interrupt you for 1 minute. My kids grew up with Ryan in school, and they were all in the same classes. And I told them that Ryan was running a few years ago, and both separately, I wasn't talking them together, both said, well, at least you'll have a smart mayor. That's all they said. It was so cute. Both of them said the exact same words. So just be aware of that, And that's intimidating to a lot of people. It's really scary because he is really, really bright. And a lot of people don't feel comfortable with that. So, but anyway, I thought that was kind of cute the way my kids were like.
That's great. Back to city council, Ryan has written a lot of the policies that we are proud of in our city. Okay, so city council, we all serve on multiple committees. The committees I serve on are planning, public works, and finance, the big three, I like to call them. And then housing affordability and community services. And those are all, of course, interrelated like everything is. So those can be, it's a great way to learn about what's happening in the city. I'm also on the Community Action Board. This is my 3rd year on the board, and I'm a brand new member of the Skagit County Marine Resources Committee and also the board of Skagit Transit. So transportation is really near and dear to my heart, as is housing. So all of those things sort of wrap up together and are one of the reasons that I'm here. My day job, I'm the Government and Community Relations Manager at Lautenbach Recycling, which means I do all kinds of fun outreach and events and accounts receivable sometimes. It's a real mix, but it's a really great job too. So I'm here to talk about the comp plan update, specifically the climate element. And I know Ryan was here last month talking about it in general. Were most people here for that?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, great. So I don't have to explain too much of that. I'll just briefly, the comp plan is our guiding document for the next 20 years. And we need to update it every 10 years and make sure our goals and our policies are in alignment, and we're doing what we can to create and maintain the best community that we can. And that has multiple elements, as you know, and this year we have a brand new element required by law, which is the climate element, because we have a lot of forward-thinking legislators in Olympia, which is great. So, let's see if I can do this. This is my second PowerPoint ever in my life, so let's see if it's, hopefully it's better than my first one. Okay, so I wonder,
Oh, lights are over there.
oh great, thank you. So the climate element has two sub-elements, and the first is greenhouse gas emissions, inventory, and reduction strategies. So we hired some consultants as a city to determine what our greenhouse gas emissions are. And this is the total of our local emissions. This is the pie chart, and we'll get into this a little bit more, but it gives you an idea. All the blue purpley part is from buildings, and all the green part is from transportation. And as you add those together, 98% of our greenhouse gases come from our buildings and transportation. I think that's pretty common across the board in other places as well. But yeah, 98%. So those are the places that we can obviously make the most difference. So buildings are 61%, and transportation is about 37%. Whoops.
Should probably add that the refineries aren't considered in this study, right?
I think,
They
aren't they in city limits?
They are, but I think because they're a public service, they're not.
The expansion.
So they're urban growth area, okay. So we also have imported emissions, so those might count for that. So this will just be us in the city. And we can confirm that, yeah, we can confirm that on the city website. But this is the buildings breakdown, the residential, commercial, and industrial. And you can see the electricity and the natural gas and other. So that's the breakdown. So most of it's residential. And then here's transportation. The breakdown of that, passenger cars being the most, obviously. Recreational marine is right up there too. Should I stay there longer or? Yeah. So then this is the total. This includes all the things on the left. Oh, this works. This is what we produce in the Anacortes, all on the left-hand side, and that negative comes from our forests. That sequesters that much carbon, our forest lands. So we do have a little bit of a negative going for us. And then all this that's imported, those are all generated outside Anacortes, and those gases are created in the production of goods, food, services, air travel, and production and transportation of fuels. So of the local sources and the imported sources, locally we generate 52% of our total, and imported is 48% of the total. So the other, oh yeah, so this is a little bit more, it's hard to see, it was hard to tell how this was gonna come up, but this breaks it down into categories within each category, subcategories, like natural gas, electricity, goods is clothing, furniture, electronics, medical. So it's just, I kind of like the visual of that to give the overview. And then I just, I had to do, so we have these charts, but then I just want to keep it green to a degree, so that's Whistle Lake, and that picture I took a couple of weeks ago. There's this awesome little place south of Port Townsend called Gibbs Lake, and has some really beautiful hiking and biking trails. And I came across this little possum. I never saw one alive until now. I came over the trail, and this is a little bit later, and all I saw was this little white face right in the middle of the trail, looking at me, like, okay, what are you doing? It was the cutest thing. So anyway, I wanted to include that, just cause. And then this I saw, have any of you been to Mountain Lake on Orcas Island? Oh my gosh, well go, Lori's been. There's a 4-mile trail around the lake, and there's this one area, one part of the trail, and it's like the steepest part, and it's got 3 switchbacks, and you get up to the top, And at the top, there's this flattened log, and people make words on it with sticks. And so on Christmas Day, I was riding my bike, and I came to the top, and I was panting and gasping and sweating, and I saw joy and peace on Christmas Day. So that was lovely. So anyway, gotta keep nature in it. So that's my PowerPoint. That is my interpretation of the greenhouse gas element. This might be a good place to stop for questions if anyone has any.
Carol?
Yes,
So,
Mark?
one person brought up the notion of the refineries.
Yes.
Not only the refineries, the tankers, they burn bunker fuel, most of them, which is really rotten stuff, it's like burning tar. And so, is there any way to capture the refineries? I worked out there for 10 years. And you want to talk about natural gas burning, I mean, they have huge furnaces. These are 3 or 4 story furnaces that keep the crude before it goes up the crude column. Plus the tankers coming in here. In the old days, when they were first, the refineries were first built, they had most of their crude pipeline from Alberta, but nowadays, I think most all of it comes in by tanker. And tankers are, they're not even diesel, they are mostly bunker fuel, which puts out a lot of hydrocarbon type gases.
Okay, so I don't know about that, but that must be in that fuel projection column, production column.
It'd be higher than that.
It's not. I saw, Evergreen Islands put out an assessment, and, you know, they had Marathon, they had Sinclair. They had Marathon Refinery, this much emissions, Sinclair, like this much, and Anacortes was like that much, comparatively speaking. But they're, because they're a community, they're for the greater good, or whatever, I don't know the terms, but they didn't get evaluated in this study because of that. They're not, they weren't hired to do that, I'm sure of that.
So, okay, so.
You should check it out for us and tell us.
Yeah, so, that goes to, let's see, my thing isn't catching up here.
You had fuel, but that was for the goods, right?
So there's fuel production, so I can't speak to the details of this report and how it was added. My understanding was that's imported, so that's from outside of Anacortes. So if the refineries are not inside Anacortes,
Right.
my expectation would be they were outside and included in that. But to find the methodology of the study, that would be on the city website, and there is a place to find that. And I'm kind of wondering why it's not. Oh, we're on the right track there. Ah, there we go. Okay. So I am going to talk about this page a little bit. We'll get here in a little bit. So we'll get back to that. But thanks for those questions, because I just don't know. But we can find out. So after greenhouse gases, the other element, sub-element, is about resilience. What is our ability to withstand and adapt to climate change as a community? So that gets us to our goals and this is the fun part for me as a council member. What are our goals and policies? How are we going to work toward climate resilience to improve our preparedness, our responses, our recovery efforts? And a big part of this is to not create or worsen impacts to overburdened communities that have historically borne the brunt of any kind of industrialization or factories or things like that. So that's a very big part of this job, is to make sure we don't overburden traditionally overburdened communities and vulnerable populations. So the resilience is all connected with our housing, utilities, our transportation, and one of the ways we're approaching this as a city is we have a climate advisory team, and that is comprised of community stakeholders. We have a port representative, a Samish representative, school district, Evergreen Islands, hospitals, Skagit Transit. We have a planning commissioner, I'm the council member, and then we have Sandy Finney from Community Action. She's representing the underrepresented communities. So it's a really good group of people. We've had 3 meetings so far. We have another one coming up, and that will also all be found on this page. So this page is kind of gonna be your one-stop resource to find out what's been happening, what's going to happen. It's filled with resources, and we'll go over some of those. So staff and consultants have also been meeting with representatives from the marine industry to talk about sea level rise and how things will affect their businesses as well. I'm gonna start kind of going around some of the measures that we're addressing in the climate plan, the climate element. So one of them is electrification of buildings. And I went to a talk by Betty Carteret recently, and she's Friends of Skagit Beaches, and she's on the Citizens Climate Lobby, and she does a million things, but she was talking about electrification and saying we have the technology to do the electrification we need, but we're constrained by our grid, we don't have the power. So the funding is an issue, and even more so now, and also the siting is an issue. As we've seen in the county, that company is a GoldenEye that wants to build that substation. So there's a lot to think about there, but that's one of the goals is to electrify. We also, one that's really near and dear to my heart is reduce vehicle miles traveled and increase active transportation and transit to get out of our one person, one car life that we live. So especially on city council, we're working to create a walkable, bikeable, safe city. And when it's safe for walkers and bikers, it's also safe for drivers. I mean, speeding is a huge issue, we all know. It's easy to speed, sometimes I do it, sometimes it's hard not to. If you're going down D Avenue, it's hard not to speed, but.
They watch there.
What?
They give tickets there.
Do they? Good. And there are going to be improvements happening there, on D Avenue specifically, and we're working on traffic calming measures throughout the city, especially when we do things like repave South Commercial. So South Commercial is in line to get repaved, and that would include bike lanes and traffic calming. When you narrow the lanes, even with paint, people tend to slow down. If you have these big wide lanes, it just makes it easier to go fast. Also to do 32nd Street between the roundabout on M Avenue down to Commercial, it's really hard to not speed there. And we want to build,
It's such a short distance.
It's a short distance, but it's downhill and the lanes are so wide. So the idea is people are crossing from the retirement home to Storvik Park because they're not gonna walk all the way up to the roundabout, cross there and walk all the way back down. And so we've heard from enough community members that we are going to get a crosswalk built, and it might be like a speed table thing and have some kind of like a bump out, and just really, if we don't physically slow down the traffic, it's not gonna slow down. So we're working on that. Yes, question?
32nd and M Avenue, that roundabout is hell. I go there probably half a dozen times a day. It is hell. People come there and they try to go as fast as they possibly can, not walking through like we're supposed to do.
Right, so definitely some people fly, I mean, that's to the point, so this is a comment about people flying through that M Avenue roundabout, and especially I feel like when they're coming down the hill, it is easy to do, and people don't even look.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so the things that we're working on the things that we can do to just prevent that from happening.
The
So-
guy that's going fast wins.
He doesn't make eye contact, does he?
No, the faster he goes, the more he gets his pay.
I guess, somewhere he's not winning though, somewhere he's not winning. Another thing that's exciting that's going on is that Skagit Transit, they're working on a long-range plan, because I think, does anyone here take Skagit Transit?
No, but I'd like to.
Exactly, no, but I'd like to. I think a lot of people feel that way, and those routes haven't been upgraded or improved or reconsidered for years and years, but there's a new CEO in town, and her name is Crystal Stidham, and she lives in Anacortes. And she was in Fresno and she was in Sacramento, she's worked at bigger agencies, and she's thinking big. So she has these consultants who are putting this long-range plan together, and it includes improvements for ridership, like buses that run more often. Buses that go, if you wanna go to Mount Vernon, they wanna change that route, so you can get on in Anacortes and it'll take you to Mount Vernon. You won't have to change buses at Park and Ride. It'll stop there across from Mocha Joe's, but you can just be on one bus all the way to Mount Vernon and back. So she's working on initiatives like that, and with input from, they've done some outreach meetings and stuff. So there are improvements coming from Skagit Transit, because that's gonna be really important too. One of the things they're also working on, they applied for a grant for microtransit, which is essentially like Uber, but it's gonna cost a lot less. But hopefully, they scored high on the grant, but we know how tenuous fund, yeah, so, but the idea would be that you could live anywhere on Fidalgo Island, this would be a pilot project, and you could call up and they could come get you in like 15 minutes and you could get to where you're going, like if you're going to Safeway or you're going to the senior center or wherever. High school kids could use it after school if they have like extracurriculars and they can't take the bus home. So anyway, we'll see, more to come on that. But she's very ambitious and has a really good vision, and her main vision is we need to do what the people want, so they ride our buses. Because around the country, ridership is back on transit, is back to pre-pandemic levels for the most part, but Skagit Transit is still 34% down from what they were before the pandemic. So Crystal's working really hard to change that, so stay tuned about those things. We talk a lot about trees, and the city doesn't really have a tree plan, but we are working on our stormwater management plan update, and that includes we need a tree plan. So that is actually gonna be happening. We talk about it all the time and we haven't done it. So we'll work on our tree plan. Another part of climate resilience is economic development, and that means supporting our local businesses, buying locally, and also emergency preparedness. One of my favorite topics now that I work for Lautenbach Recycling is solid waste generation and management. So like a lot of people here do, refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle should be one of the last things you do. It's not the top of the pyramid, it's closer to the bottom. So people around the state are doing things like tool libraries. There's a famous one in South King County. Seed libraries, which Transition is doing. Reuse, repair programs. I'm gonna talk about Transition a lot, but then I'm gonna let Bud talk about it. And then things like Skagit Gleaners, of food not going to waste to begin with, right? There's a lot of good legislation at the state level. There's an organics management law that got passed. We've been ahead of the game here in Anacortes. If we have curbside recycling, we can get curbside composting as well. We have to pay for it, I think it's $11 a month, but it goes to Skagit Soils, right 10 miles away from here. It gets turned into compost, and then the city, we do have that. Yeah, so I don't know if everyone knows, okay, yeah, I don't know if everyone knows about that, but it's gonna be mandatory around the whole state, that anywhere that curbside recycling and garbage pickup is offered, composting has to be offered too. So that's gonna be great, because about 1/3 of the material that ends up in landfills is organic material, where it creates methane, and sounds like people kind of already know this. Yeah. So some other legislation that's working through the state right now is extended producer responsibility for packaging, which there's a whole, that could be a whole hour, but so I'm not gonna do that. But basically we're drowning in plastics. And plastics aren't just jugs, tubs, it's like they're always changing, they're multi-layered, they're crinkly, they're hard to separate the various elements and recycle them. So this would put the onus on producers to make packaging that is truly recyclable. And the goal of this legislation is to make recycling free for everyone across the state. 11 counties don't have access to curbside recycling, so this would make it mandatory. So there's a lot involved on that, but it's definitely moving in the right direction. And if it doesn't pass this year, I think this is the 3rd year it's been introduced, it's just gonna get closer and closer, and it's eventually gonna happen. So that will be good. So the last thing I want to talk about before we delve into this awesome resource is health and wellness, how important that is, especially now. What can we do? We're so interconnected with each other and everything that's going on. It affects our bodies, it affects our minds, it affects everything. And as studies have shown, strong social connections and networks are the best way to increase well-being and personal resilience. And by your being here, you know that. We're doing that right now. Hearing Sarah talk, we're in this together and we know that. And by showing up, we're reaffirming that and recommitting to that. So everything that we do in that way to support each other and our neighbors is so vital right now. So groups like this, Evergreen Islands, Transition Fidalgo, I went to this, I mentioned the Storming the Sound conference I think that I went to. It's Northwest Aquatic and Marine Educators. There's the Marine Resources Committee, there's Friends of Skagit Beaches. We have so many organizations that are doing such good things, and things are really overwhelming and it's really daunting. But when we have organizations like this where we could donate $5, we can go to a meeting, we can talk to someone about it, we can share a thought. We know that we're all working in tandem toward the same goals of sustainability in a world that we're proud to live in, that we've helped to create. We have a lot of power, even if when we do small things, it all counts. So I know you know that already because you're here. So with that, I want to talk about this really catchy name our planning director came up with. It's called Anacortes. I know, it's groan-worthy, Ryan hates it. So you can just go to the city website and the planning page, or you can put in Anacortes and it will literally take you to this page. And this is all things comprehensive plan. Shows you the old one, but this is kind of the part that I think is fun and interactive. We have the Climate Element Interactive Explorer. So you can get on this and it gives you an overview. It tells you about the climate elements.
Could you do the timeline real quick?
Yes.
Is this one taking comments still, climate, or is it closed?
Yes, so they're doing each section at a time of the comp plan update. So let's see, so some of them are done. I think like housing and land use is done, but transportation is still going on, and I'll get to that part in a second to show what's still commentable upon. But this is pretty nifty, and it'll give you the overview. Anyway, you can noodle around in here.
It says 1 through 8 at the top. And
Yeah.
That's how you get through those boxes.
Yes.
That's stuff like that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They don't, you can't click on them and they don't open.
I know, I was just doing that. I thought I could do it before. Okay, so this talks about the greenhouse gas emissions. Oh, there's my chart. Local emissions, and so.
It says within the city area, so that's what's being valued. All I was saying is the figures that you're seeing don't include the refineries because they're outside the city limits.
Right, but so are all these red things.
Yeah.
That's all outside the city.
They're so much higher than what we do.
Okay, so Lori's disputing.
No, according to Evergreen Islands, I mean, they're just so, the emissions from our refineries are so much higher than all of Anacortes put together.
Okay, so I would,
I mean, as you would think it would be, right?
you would think.
And
I'm
it's
not,
like you have the power to do anything about it.
so that would be,
Under the county's comp plan, right? That's gonna be under the.
some of that would be recorded by the county also, yes. So there is, okay, so I'm gonna do this first, but we're gonna get to, I'll show you where to find how they did this study. So yeah, here's the greenhouse gas part, and then you can go through climate vulnerability. Oh, there's the refinery right there. Vulnerable populations. So these are the 6 sections that you can explore. But let's go back. Let's So this is back to the page. This is a really cool thing that I would like you to check out if you get a chance, the transportation element update. And there's this interactive map. There's our beautiful downtown. So you can click, you can see where other people have made comments. There's a lot going down there. And you can add comments. So I'm just gonna.
Probably a lot over Highway 20 too.
Yeah, so for example, you pick an address and then you put your comment in. So again, we have consultants that will be going through all this and recording all the comments. So this is a really good place to do that if you, something near your house or, 32nd Street, people are going too fast. So that's a really good opportunity to weigh in as well. So we did climate element explorer, transportation element update.
Is that transportation is the only thing that's on the map?
On that particular map,
There
yeah.
wasn't there a sea level rise one too that was interactive?
Yeah.
That was kind of cool.
Oh, there might be.
I thought,
Seven,
go back.
number 7 on your, somewhere in there.
It's probably page 7.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so whoops, no, maybe it was 8, no,
Maybe 4.
maybe page 5, there we go. So it describes, oh yeah, okay, interactive maps.
That was cool.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so those are 2 opportunities, and also you can subscribe and get emails with updates of what's going on, and you can also send a comment anytime to this comp plan at anacorteswa.gov. So everything's here that you need to follow along. Here are upcoming meetings, past meetings. See, we have a lot of meetings already, a lot more to come. And then this is good too, frequently asked questions. Aha. Oh, here we go. So this is the greenhouse gas emissions report, and we won't go too far into the weeds here, but I will show you where it is, and see if anything jumps out at us. So you can send comments. There's also a resource library tab that has a whole bunch of great information too. So I have to hand it to planning staff. They've done a bang-up job of making this page and putting all the information easily accessible in one place. You can even look at the public comments and you can read the comments thus far. Okay, so we're not gonna go into this because it talks about, it gets really detailed. I'm gonna get rid of this. Okay, so that's where to delve in and really find out how they did this study.
There's scope exclusions, there's the exclusions. Emission scope.
Okay, exclusions, agriculture. It is really warm in here.
Yeah, I know.
So it doesn't look like they, according to this, they wouldn't have excluded the refinery. So anyway, that's,
2022, yeah.
so that's what?
That's the 2022.
Yeah, this is from 2022.
There's nothing, I'm not trying to say there's anything wrong, I just, in my understanding is that what our efforts will be for the things that we can control, and refinery isn't part of that. We're not addressing the refinery in our Anacortes CEP's climate piece.
Yeah,
That's my understanding, but.
that's, yeah, I don't know enough about it to
Said buy
answer.
local, cut down your transportation, don't buy.
Right, so the, yeah, so that 98% of our greenhouse gas emissions locally, all of that is from fossil fuels, all of it. 100% of it. So, yeah, I mean, that's really all I can,
I know,
Yeah.
and we have to do something.
That's
That's
a-
the good news.
right.
Change yourself.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, sometimes we need to drive. We just can't help it sometimes. But anyway, to provide other options and to make it a truly bikeable, walkable city. One of the good news pieces about that too is the state of Washington. When you develop a road now, if you want a grant from the state, you need to include non-motorized transportation, active transportation. It's not all about cars anymore, so that's a really big win. Yes, Sarah?
So my question is, why did they spend all that money on our app and not include a bike lane?
So the bike lane is the 10-foot sidewalk on each side. So that's a multi-use path. So that is essentially, it's like a separated bike lane, it's like a big giant sidewalk. So there's that, and then the grass, and then the road. I've ridden up and down it, and it's pretty great.
Where are you?
Our avenue, Sarah was asking about our avenue.
But if people don't know they're
I
allowed to
know.
ride their bike there,
I know.
because, I mean, generally you cannot ride on
On
sidewalks,
sidewalks,
so.
Right, that's
What good
true.
is it if it's not posted as available spikes?
And it should be striped separate
Yeah,
between
there's
pedestrians and bikers.
Well,
Okay,
that's-
guys, let's, if we have questions and stuff, let me bring the mic because other people, it just becomes a discussion and we can't hear what your comments are, okay? So raise your hand and I'll bring the mic over to people.
So that question was about striping. Paint is, I mean, we don't have the Tommy Thompson painted, right? Like, so it's like, we could use some signs probably or better knowledge about that. I guess because I ride my bike all the time that I just, and because I'm on city council, I just knew that was that. So, yeah, I guess we're not getting the word out, but it's a multi-use pathway.
And that's. where
On
is
our
it?
avenue.
Ours. Besides the Tommy Thompson, it's right next to our. that-
Yeah, so when you go down our, there's a big wide sidewalk on both sides that you can ride or walk in. Yes,
Maybe
Heather?
we could paint, on the entry points, the bicycle.
Yeah,
And indicate that it's a bicycle path also. or
Right.
Something without having to strike the whole thing.
Yeah, or just a sign at the.
so these are some ideas of, signs, or we could do those the things that they put on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a bike, so people would know. Yeah, sorry, I just thought people would, I thought
Especially if you're an
people would
avid
just-
biker.
I know, because I'm just riding my bike everywhere.
Okay, guys, we need to move along. It's 8:00, so
Oh, one more question for
no
this?
more questions.
Hi.
I was going to suggest perhaps having 3x5 cards. So if people get ideas, they can write them down and put them in a box or.
You mean here? Yeah, we could have,
Repeat what he just.
so he just, said, what's your name?
Troy?
Troy?
Yes.
Great, nice to meet you, Troy. Thanks for your question. So we could have, if we had like index cards, people could write their suggestions and questions, and I could take those with me.
Okay, I have cards back here, so if you
Okay.
raise your hand, I'll give you a card.
And also, I have a
Good
little stack.
idea.
I have a stack. Thank you, Troy. I have a stack of my business cards on the back table there. They're my Lautenbach ones because our city ones haven't been updated with our new address. So anyway, but that will work. So you can also email me, and those are on the back table. So yeah. So any questions are welcome and comments. And also, don't forget that there's this page where you can, up at the top, where you can make your comments too. So send those on in. The last thing I want to show you, your project documents, climate team, comments, the resource library. This is about all the relevant documents right now too. So you could spend days on this page if you wanted. So thank you for your attention. Talking about all the good things that are going on in our community, we invited Bud Anderson, who's a Transition Fidalgo board member, as is Lori, and Lori Sherman, and so they can tell us about all the really great initiatives that they're doing to strengthen our community and increase our climate resilience. So I'm gonna hand the mic to Bud.
Okay, thank you so much. That was really.
Thank you.
Okay. Carolyn, thank you very much. And thanks for all you're doing. So folks, if you want to have a question for Carolyn, raise your hand, I'll give you a card. And go to the website and you can get into a lot of the details, a lot of the concerns you might have, and kind of find out what's going on. So, and there's a lot of stuff going on, it's great. You know, we kind of are getting, we have to remember that, so.
So I want to shout out to Barbara for inviting me here, and I so much am always pleased to see Corinne. She's my favorite of all favorites, so thanks a lot for all your past work. My name is Bud Anderson. I'm president of Transition Fidalgo. We have Lori Sherman, who's on our board here tonight, and we'll answer any questions. I'm going to be very brief, but I just want to outline who we are, what we're doing, and how we fit into this. So Transition Fidalgo was started in 2006 by Evelyn Adams. I joined in 2007, and I told my lovely wife I've just joined for life. But it's a great group. We have an email list of about 700 people. So if you think that there's 18,000 residents in Skagit County, and maybe you divide it by 3 or 4, how many households? We represent a lot of households in this valley. What's more important is we actually did this about 15 years ago. And that was called our Vision 2030. When we looked ahead 15 years and we said, what would we like our community to look like? And we subdivided that into 8 areas: transportation, food, housing, sea level rise, wrote a report with short-term, medium-term, long-term goals and ways to get there. We gave a copy of that to every member of the Anacortes City Council. I never heard one question back. However, fortunately, because of our state and state leadership, now it's, if you will, top down. Now the state's mandating the counties and the cities open their eyes a little bit and try to address the problem. So at Transition Fidalgo, that's our mission. We're not statewide, we're not national-wide, we're this community. We care about our community. We're doing everything we can to help our community. If you're interested in Transition Fidalgo, we put out an annual report, transitionfidalgo.org, very easy to get to, very easy to read, and it talks about everything we do, all of our programs. So if you want to be part of a grassroots person in the community, helping us, helping the community, please go on the report and say, you know, I'd like to join, get on the mailing list. We used to have monthly meetings. COVID really took us about 5 steps backwards. We're now at quarterly meetings. We're talking about increasing frequency, but we have quarterly meetings. The next quarterly meeting is April 28th. We're going to talk about permaculture. So I want to just make another comment about the talk you heard tonight from Carolyn. So everyone probably understands the reason for electrification, but the issue is anytime you burn hydrocarbon, so that's oil, coal, diesel, whatever, you put CO2 in the atmosphere, and if CO2 gets above about 400 parts per million, then the Earth can't, it will not emit, the heat coming into the Earth is greater than the heat leaving, and our planet warms up. So we've got to stop burning hydrocarbons. So that doesn't mean stop, we've got to reduce it to pre-1940 levels. If we do that, we're in good shape. If you look at CO2 emissions, they were doing good, like 250, whatever, until about World War II. Then they've been on a steady rise. In the last 10 years, they're just rocketing up. And we either stop that or the kids and grandkids will pay the price. And that's not a threat. I mean, they're paying the price now, but it'll be much worse later. So just very briefly, and then I'll conclude. We have programs that will help this community. And when you read our report, I'm just going to read the category. So if you're interested in the category, please check us out. Middle school garden to kitchen. So we work at the middle school. We help build a greenhouse at the middle school that every child at that school enjoys. And Lori's a big part of that. We have Share the Bounty community food stands. We have 3 free food stands located in the city, library, down by the city hall, and at the community center where we give out free vegetables in the summer for those in need. We have the Fix It Days program. That's in its 13th year. I've been a part of that every year where people bring in items, we fix it, return it to them so we don't have to throw it away, we don't have to remanufacture, we don't have to travel.
Next one is February 15th, right here at the library.
Thank you. That's actually a good come on. So at the library, and I believe it's, do you recall the hours?
11 to 4.
11 to 4, thank you. Probably our biggest program is the Anacortes Community Forest Land Study. So on our own for about the last 7 years, we have about 70 volunteers that have been out in the forest. They're monitoring the health of the trees. And we've expanded that now to monitor, for example, the soil moisture, because we find the soil is drying up in many areas and trees are suffering because of that. Well, you can't just make that statement, you have to prove it. And we're proving that that's the issue, and then monitoring if there's any link between trees dying and moisture not being plentiful in soil. We have a seed share program, and that'll be in the library. The seed booth is upstairs, where we give out free seeds for those that want to grow gardens.
Opens this week.
Opens this week. Okay, Fidalgo Grows, it's a blog. You can get a newsletter electronically, and it tells you all about growing and gardening. We have a Pathfinder newsletter that talks about environmental issues locally and nationally. And we have the Deep Resistance Circles that talk about how we can handle the challenges that we're facing. And last, youth scholarships. For probably, I think it's 8 years now, we give $2,000 in scholarships to Anacortes High School students. So if any of those interest you, please get on our website. I think when the program's over, although we're running a touch late, I'd be happy to answer any questions, unless you want me to do that now. Or...
Yeah, why don't we, okay, if there's any questions, I'll bring the mic to people for, Bud, does anyone want to ask any questions? One thing to be aware of, the Transition Fidalgo is very local. They're doing things in this community. So if you're feeling like you want to get involved locally, this is a great way to do it. You know, because it's right here in Anacortes, and you don't have to feel that it's a global thing. It isn't. You know, it's locally, right? Think globally, act locally, and so it's a really good, you know, effort.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for all you do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. This is kind of a gee whiz. Really thanks to Eric Shen and Kevin Moss. Transition Fidalgo built 4 solar systems in the city of Anacortes. So just check this out. The state funded 70 systems. I said 4. Anacortes built 5. One of them's in the library. So if you happen to be out on this side, just look up that solar system. So we basically raised, it would be just like a group here, we'd have a meeting, who wants to invest? And people would invest about $5,000 until we got to the point we had $80,000. Then we built that system, and in 5 years, because of the state incentive programs and power company buying power back, we paid everyone back. We made between 10 and 40% profit on our investment. We did it, thank you, we did it here, we did it at the police station, we did 2 at the middle school, and Maples Hall in Connor. So.
All right. Okay. So are there any questions? Anyone wants to make any comments? Okay, let me bring the mic.
I was just wondering if something was going to be happening Monday in town for the National Day of Protest across the country. If something was happening on Monday, President's Day, there's a National Day of Protest across the country.
I haven't seen anything, I've seen, people suggesting it's a good day not to buy anything, but that's even.
Right, it is a,
But is it visible doing anything?
I haven't seen anything on their
I haven't
site.
either.
But it is a National Day of Protest across the country on Monday.
Okay.
So on Sunday, when you come downtown, join us at noon, we'll plan what to do on Monday.
Right.
Hi, I'm Nina LeBaron. So since Skagit Democrats didn't really have a presence on Facebook, I started Anacortes Democrats on Facebook to try to get people excited about going to the rally on the corner. And so if anybody wants to join that Facebook page, it's Anacortes Democrats.
Anacortes Democrat?
Anacortes Democrats.
Okay.
So I'm trying to keep more active of rallies and things that are happening to inform people.
Great, thank you. We do have one of our steering committee people, person Shay, who said she's gonna start looking back into getting it going, but she hasn't yet. She's been out of town for a couple of months. And one of the reasons it sort of fell apart was because people got angry with Zuckerberg. And it just, you know, you kind of can get angry at so many different people that, you know, you just don't know where to begin, but that's why that happened. So, but thank you for doing that, that's great. So if anyone's on Facebook, that's a good thing to know. Any other comments? Okay, let me come on.
I just wanted to make sure that everybody is aware of Greg Palast, who is an investigative reporter, and he has a great movie on his website that you can watch for free on his website, gregpalast.com, and it's called it's basically about voter fraud, suppressing the vote, and supposedly there were 4 million people that were knocked off the ballot last election. Vigilante Inc.
Vigilante Inc., yeah.
Yeah, the movie's called Vigilante Inc.
Write it down on that tape back there so you can look at it.
Okay.
I put it on the Anacortes Democrats Facebook page is the link for that movie. Oh, that explains it, thank you. I was wondering why.
Did we get the basket sent around?
Hi, are there any other comments or questions, or do you wanna?
No,
Oh, okay.
She wants to get it in Monday.
Oh, just waiting, okay. Let me get out of the way of the camera. Okay, hold on, we've got, Lori's has a comment to make. Here you go.
Just, I want to thank Bud, that was a great overview of Transition Fidalgo. If anybody is interested, if these times are inspiring you to take action, please let me know. I'd be happy to get you signed up. I'd be happy to get you signed up on one of our many cool projects. There's even more than Bud mentioned, I think, you know, but Fix It Day is coming up. Hope to see you there.
Okay, and if you forget how to get in touch with them, you can get in touch with me and I'll get you in touch with them. Because these people are wonderful people and they're doing great work. So if it's something you want to be involved with, please do. As you can see, there's lots going on in many different areas. of the city and a lot of people doing a lot of really good work. And it's really encouraging because it's really hard, it's easy to get discouraged. If you listen to the news, you just want to tear your hair out of your head sometimes. But just know that there are a lot of people out there that are really smart and really committed and really active. So that's how I keep my spirits up. Is there any other comments, questions, concerns? Okay, Rita. Oh, that's right, I forgot. We have a steering committee, we meet once a month, and we try to decide what we're going to do every month. And we're looking for members. And so if you're at all interested, again, you can contact me. I have cards out on the table back there, so you could grab a card and just give me a call, and we can talk and see if it's something that you're interested in, or if you know someone else that might be. It's not a huge time commitment, but we do need people with new ideas and good ideas, so thank you, Rita.
Does Rita make cookies for that also?
No, I'm afraid not usually, unless there's a party. Hi.
I would just observe that it seems like there's a lot more younger people here now. Good. Yeah, exactly. That's it. That's all they have to say. That's encouraging.
Any other comments? Okay. Thank you, Bud. Thank you, Carolyn. Before we adjourn, it looks like we are. I'm going to ask folks to put the chairs and piles on the side there. And again, I have my card in the back, so if you have any comments or concerns, just give me a call.
I love to record.